But in the meantime, here's what Curran told us yesterday about Drake Maye and his progression so far through minicamp.
I would say that he has improved fairly drastically. I can't say where I thought he would be in the pre-draft necessarily until I saw him. So but I'd say this, Mego, watching his first practice where he was a little robotic, he was thinking his way through things, didn't really stand out. Now in the last 2 practices, we are seeing standout throws. We're seeing much more seamless footwork. We're seeing quicker decisions. So his growth from the first time I saw him here to now has been better than I anticipated it would be based upon that first day.
Okay. So even Tommy Curran, who has not always been the highest on Drake Maye,
is he getting one over?
Is he getting one over, or is he starting to hear things
like Mego and Luka?
No. Do you think he's getting one over, or is he starting to hear things like, "Hey, he's making a move"? Because to me, that would be even more impressive. Like if Curran laughed me off when I said I thought he could start week 1, he laughed at me, and so to me, it would be significant if the team is starting to put out there like, "Hey, keep an eye on this guy, keep an eye on the push that he's making because he's checking all the right boxes." That to me would be more significant than just Curran looking at it and going, "Oh, he's a little better than I thought."
My only worry about this because we keep hearing week after week, whether it's in OTAs or minicamp, is how much better he looks. I think there was one stinky report that he got. Oh, he had a stinky day today, and that was the only one. Is he still he was very raw and he's fixed the stuff that's easy to fix. If you remember, Brian Hoyer before OTA started said footwork, everybody's talking about how messy, sloppy his footwork is. Footwork is the easiest thing to fix. That's easy. Maybe I just wonder if it's he's fixing the stuff that maybe should have already been in place before OTAs and minicamp started, before, frankly, he was in the NFL. And now the challenges to come are things that might take a little more time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just don't think it's that hard to beat out Jacoby Brissett. I'll stand by this time and time again. And if he's beating out Jacoby Brissett, even if he's not to the point where they want him to be to, and he's checked all the boxes and they feel like he's perfectly ready to go out there and play, it's going to be a hard sell to everybody else on the team. If he's the best quarterback on the team, it's going to be a hard sell to guys like Matt Judon and other veterans on that team who want to win and don't want to waste their career waiting for Jacoby Brissett for a month. If he's the best guy out there in training camp and the preseason, I know it's easy to sit here and say in minicamp when they're on the field half the time and they're skipping half a minicamp and going light on day 3. It's easy to say, well, when he's ready, we'll get him out there. And we won't get him out there. We won't rush him out there. We're not going to do that. It's another thing to actually get out there when it's week 1 and you have to decide on a starting quarterback and one guy's outplayed the other and it's obvious and the whole team knows it. And then you're going to sit the better player. That's a much different decision than just talking about it here in June. And I just think that's going to be the reality.
What about when it's week 5? If they don't have a win and the only thing that fans have to look forward to on the calendar is some bronze Brady statue with a weird face getting unveiled down in Foxborough on a rainy October Sunday where it's 42 degrees. I think that's when they really start looking around and going, what exactly is the plan for this season? And what are the goals that we have in mind here? Because nobody's watching us and we don't even have a primetime game.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, you just mentioned it, I think, Jones, but you're talking about the veterans here, the veterans on offense like Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne and guys like that who, if Bourne, comes back and plays this year. Someone like Pop Douglas who has shown some promise in his rookie year. If he's out there and Jacoby Brissett's duffing passes and they're all sort of looking at each other like, okay. And for a lot of guys who re-signed, I think that's part of it too. You brought back a lot of players. They didn't come here to lose, I don't think. I think that this was the idea. All right.
The sell was, here's our defense. We're good on that side of the ball. Let's fix the offense a little bit, and we can win some games.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to be. And if they fix the offense and then start Brissett when clearly May is the guy who should be out there, and maybe they weren't expecting to win 10 games this year, but they were expecting to turn it around from 4, I think that that's going to be something that a lot of these guys are going to look at and go, well, what the hell did I re-sign here for? What's the point of this? This isn't doing anything for me or my career. Hunter Henry, what am I doing here? I could have gone and played with a real quarterback.
So Phil Perry had some good notes at NBC Sports Boston. Very positive on Jalen Polk, who it seems like the team feels is going to be more than just a possession type of receiver. He's a guy who can be more explosive than that, and a guy who can be more than just a role player in the receiving room. Again, that's coming from the team. He also has observations. I know a lot of the beat writers wrote about this and covered this, but I was reading Phil earlier today. Mike Onwenu is now back at guard. He had kicked out to right tackle. Now he's back at guard. So, what's going on? What are they doing on the offensive line? I know you guys care about that. I don't care so much. But I'm curious where he's going to line up. So those are some minor notes. The Drake Maye stuff is interesting, though. This is what he wrote. He says, Maye is still working through some mechanical changes that are new to him. He's still grasping the terminology involved with his new offense, but it's my understanding that the team is pleased with how he's grown in his command of the play calls, and his confidence is evident on the field and behind the scenes. If the team's starting to put this out, that they're happy with it and he's ahead of schedule, then get ready for it. The horse is out of the barn. He's going to be starting. 2 throws on Monday of this week, a fading to his left dime on a touchdown pass and a sidearm on the run flip, stood out to his teammates and coaches, not writers, teammates and coaches, among the most impressive plays of minicamp practice number 1. Both put on display the overwhelming belief he has in his own ability to try things despite their high degree of difficulty. Phil continues, if he can combine those high-end flashes with more consistency from the pocket and a further developed understanding of the offense into which he's been thrust, and if he can perform in any opportunities he's given against starting-level defenders in training camp, it might be hard to keep him off the field for long during his first regular season as a pro. That's going to be the key. If he gets an opportunity with starters against the number 1 defense and he excels there, that's what's going to lock up the starting job. That's where he has to do it. Training camp, joint practices, even the preseason games, that's where you got to do it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, go ahead, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just, what jumps out to me, and you kind of doubled down on that, reading it, that report there, Jones, was the teammates. Those guys know what they're seeing. And honestly, it always, when I hear something like that where the teammates are reacting that way to a young quarterback, it makes me think of one of the worst seasons of Hard Knocks, which was when they did both LA teams after the Chargers had moved to LA, and it was Justin Herbert going into his rookie season. And it was basically the first episode where anybody saw Justin Herbert throwing, and all the older guys on the team were watching him yeah, all right, that's an arm that we can work with. Okay, there's stuff there. And so that's the kind of thing that, to me, it goes, okay, when we talk about the raw talent that a guy has and the physical ability that was perhaps lacking here and past quarterbacks, that you just go draft that, that's the reaction that you want from the teammates.
Yeah, and I think again, if the team is starting to put it out there, and I've just noticed Curran shift a little bit. I don't know if that's his own, view of what's happening at minicamp, or if he's starting to hear things. Sounds like Phil is starting to hear things. And so if that's the case, that's much more significant than what some writer sitting on a hill thinks at minicamp. If the team's starting to put it out there and the tone is changing within the team, he's got a real chance to play and play early. And that is what I think they should do.